All right, let's dive in today, shall we? We're looking at AI and web development.
Interesting combo.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And specifically, we're going to be looking at this platform
Okay.
called Bolt.new. Have you heard about this one?
I have. There's a lot of buzz around it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for good reason, I think.
Yeah.
Because, imagine building a website in just a couple of hours. I mean, that sounds kind of crazy, right?
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, so there's this guy, Philippe Waterloose, and he did just that.
Really?
He recreated the game Universal Paperclips.
Wow.
And we'll have a link for you guys to check it out. You can actually go play it.
Cool.
But what's really mind-blowing here
Yeah.
is that he built it using Bolt.new in just 2 hours.
Seriously. 2 hours.
2 hours.
Wow, that's incredible. Building a game like Universal Paperclips, that's complex.
I know.
That would usually take days, if not weeks.
I mean, even for, like, really good developers, right?
Exactly. Even for seasoned developers, it's a massive undertaking.
2 hours versus weeks. That's a pretty big difference.
That's a game changer.
Because to break it down, like, what exactly is Bolt.new?
Okay.
And how does it work? Like, how is this even possible?
So Bolt.new is a web development platform, and it leverages AI to generate code from descriptions.
From descriptions. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like having a super efficient coding assistant, right?
Yeah.
It understands what you want to build and writes the code for you, so it makes development faster and more accessible.
Okay, so no more, like, late nights hunched over, lines of code. That sounds,
It sounds appealing.
appealing, yeah. Especially for someone like me who's kind of more of a big picture person.
Sure.
But, like, how does it actually work? Do you just type in, build me a website, and poof, it appears?
Chuckles. I wish it were that simple, but it is surprisingly intuitive.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Think of it this way. You tell Bolt.new, I want a page with a form to collect user feedback. Right. It understands that natural language and then automatically generates the necessary code. Whether that's HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, it handles it all.
So it's like you're having a conversation with the computer,
Exactly.
telling what you want, and it just, like, makes it happen.
Yeah, pretty much.
But, like, how much coding knowledge do you actually need to use Bolt.new?
Right.
Would somebody with zero coding experience?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Could they build something like the internal Paperclips website?
Yeah?
Probably not something that complex right off the bat.
Okay.
While Bolt.new definitely lowers the barrier to entry,
Okay.
having a basic understanding of web development concepts really helps.
Especially.
Especially for more intricate projects like that one, yeah. It's not a magic bullet that completely replaces the need to learn how to code.
That makes sense. It's like you're still the architect,
Yeah,
but Bolt.new is like your construction crew, they're handling.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
They're doing, like, all the technical
You do
stuff.
heavy lifting.
Yeah. Now, back to this internal Paperclip site.
Okay.
Can you explain a little bit about what makes it so complex?
Sure.
That, building it in 2 hours is such a feat.
Well, the original Universal Paperclips game has all these intricate mechanics and algorithms.
Okay.
It's not just visuals, right? There's a ton going on behind the scenes to manage the gameplay.
I can imagine.
The resources, the decision-making logic, it's a lot.
Right.
Building that from scratch with traditional coding would involve writing tons of code, debugging, testing, and that just takes time.
So Bolt.new essentially, like, cut through all that complexity and allowed him to focus on the core logic of the game.
Yep, focus on the creative aspects.
Rather than getting bogged down in, like, the nuts and bolts of it all.
Exactly.
Pretty impressive. But let's be realistic. Like, every tool has its limitations.
Of course.
What are some of the potential drawbacks?
All right, well, one thing to keep in mind is the free version of Bolt.new has some limitations, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah. For more advanced projects, you might need to upgrade to a paid plan.
Okay, so there are some potential costs involved.
Yeah.
What else should we be aware of?
Another potential issue is managing external dependencies during deployment.
Okay.
So while Bolt.new streamlines a lot of the process, if your project relies on external libraries or APIs, you might still run into some challenges.
So it's not completely, like, foolproof.
Right.
Especially when you're dealing with more complex integrations.
Exactly, especially with complex integrations.
It sounds like there's, like, a learning curve involved, even with the tool.
There's always a learning curve.
Yeah, even with a tool like this, that's supposed to be kind of intuitive.
Right.
But for someone just starting out in web development,
Mm.
would you say it's a good place to start?
Absolutely. It's a fantastic way to dip your toes into the world of web development without getting overwhelmed,
Okay.
by the complex syntax and all the configurations.
Yeah.
You can grasp those core principles, experiment with building real applications,
Yeah.
and that's super valuable for beginners.
So it's like training wheels for aspiring web developers.
I like that, yeah. Training wheel.
Getting them comfortable with the concepts before,
Before they dive into the deep end.
exactly, dive into the deep end of traditional coding. That's a really powerful concept.
It is.
But what about, people who are already web developers?
Yeah, seasoned developers.
Seasoned developers, yeah. Do you see Bolt.new as a threat to them or as an opportunity?
I definitely see it as an opportunity. Think about it. It can boost their productivity.
Okay.
It lets them focus on the more creative and strategic parts of development.
So instead of spending all their time
Exactly.
writing the code, they can think about the bigger picture.
Exactly. They can focus on the big picture, the user experience, the design.
And Bolt.new kind of handles the grunt work.
The grunt work, yeah.
That's a great point. It's not about
Replacing developers.
replacing, it's about
Empowering them
to work better.
Exactly. To work smarter, to work more efficiently.
And this seems to be part of a larger trend, right? This whole
yeah.
no code, load
Today.
trend
Yeah.
movement in the tech world. What do you think about that whole thing?
It's exciting, right? Platforms like Bolt.new are at the forefront of this movement. They're making development more accessible, more inclusive.
So anybody can potentially build a website or an app now.
It's pretty cool.
It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like you're seeing this shift
We are.
in how web development is done.
Absolutely.
But before we get too carried away talking about the future, let's go back to Bolt.new for a second
Okay.
and dig a little deeper into how it actually does this AI magic.
Sure, let's unpack.
Let's lift the curtain and see what's happening behind the scenes.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. All right, so
Yeah.
take it away.
Okay, so at its core,
Yeah.
Bolt.new uses a combination of really advanced AI technologies.
Okay.
We're talking natural language processing,
Okay.
machine learning,
Yeah.
and deep learning algorithms.
Okay, those are some big words. Can you
Shells.
unpack those a little bit for
Yeah,
me?
sure. Think of it like this. Natural language processing, NLP for short, allows Bolt.new to understand your instructions just like you'd explain them to another person.
Okay,
You say, create a photo gallery, and it gets it.
got it.
Then machine learning comes in. It's been trained on a massive data set of code, so it's learned all these patterns and best practices.
Okay.
It's constantly improving its ability to generate high-quality code based on all that learning.
So it's going to coding school, constantly learning, getting better.
Exactly, constantly learning and evolving.
What about deep learning? Where does that fit in?
Deep learning takes machine learning to the next level, okay? It uses these artificial neural networks
Okay.
to analyze data in a more nuanced way. It's kind of like how our brains work.
Interesting.
Yeah, so this helps Bolt.new understand the intent behind your instructions, so it can generate even more sophisticated code.
Wow, so it's not just copying and pasting snippets of code. It's actually
No, it's much more than that.
understanding what you want
Understanding the goal.
and building it from the ground up.
Exactly, from scratch.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
It is pretty impressive.
But let's zoom out a little bit.
Okay.
Talk about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Bolt.new is a cool tool.
Right.
But what does it represent, in the grand scheme of things?
I think it represents a real paradigm shift in web development.
Okay.
Those traditional barriers to entry,
Yeah.
they're crumbling thanks to tools like this.
So more people
Yeah.
can build websites, can build apps.
More people from all sorts of backgrounds can bring their ideas to life online.
That's a pretty powerful thought. But let's play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay, I like it.
Doesn't this also mean that, the market could become super saturated
That's a fair point.
with websites and apps?
Yeah.
If anyone can build a website,
Right.
won't the quality suffer?
It's a valid concern,
Yeah.
but I think creativity and innovation, those will always stand out. Just because the tools are more accessible doesn't mean everyone's going to create amazing digital experiences, right?
Right.
It still takes vision, design sense, and understanding user experience to build something truly great.
So it's not just about the tools. It's about, the people using them.
Exactly. The people behind the tools are what make the difference.
This makes you think about web developers.
Yeah.
Is this a threat to their jobs? Or
Right.
is this an opportunity for them to evolve?
I see it as an evolution, definitely not a threat.
Right.
Web developers will become more like architects, more like designers.
Okay.
They can focus on the big picture strategy, the user experience,
Right.
while AI handles the repetitive coding tasks.
So instead of writing line after line of code, they're kind of like
Exactly.
guiding the AI.
Guiding it, making sure it aligns with their vision.
It's almost like they're conducting an orchestra
I love that analogy.
of code.
Yeah, conducting an orchestra of code.
There's still like the composer.
Absolutely. There's still the creative force behind it all.
They're not like playing every single instrument.
Exactly.
That's a much more optimistic outlook than,
Chuckles.
robots are taking our jobs.
Yeah, it's about collaboration, not replacement.
Okay, so for those who are interested in like diving into this world
Yeah.
of AI-powered web development,
Yeah.
what advice would you give them? What are some things they should know going in?
Okay, so my first piece of advice, don't be afraid to experiment.
Okay.
Play around with these new tools, embrace the learning curve, have fun,
Yeah.
exploring what's possible.
Okay. Fun is important.
Absolutely.
What else?
Second, while these tools make it easier to build without writing a lot of code,
Right.
it's still important to understand the fundamentals of web development.
Okay.
That knowledge will help you troubleshoot, customize designs,
Right.
really push the boundaries.
So it's not about like throwing away traditional coding knowledge.
No, not at all.
It's about combining it with these new tools
Exactly. Using the best of both worlds.
to become like even more effective.
Even more effective, yeah.
All right. Before we wrap up this discussion,
Right.
I want to talk about the ethical considerations surrounding AI.
Important topic.
We can't just ignore the potential downsides.
Absolutely not.
It feels like we're stepping into uncharted territory here.
Yeah, it is new territory.
With AI kind of taking on this like more prominent role in web development.
Yeah.
Are there any concerns about like
Yeah.
biases creeping into the code that's being generated by these platforms?
That's a great question, and it's definitely something to be mindful of as AI becomes more prevalent in development.
Okay.
The output of any AI system is heavily influenced by the data it's trained on.
That makes sense.
So if that data contains biases,
Yeah.
those biases can be reflected in the code generated by platforms like Bolt.new.
So it's like the old saying, garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. Garbage in, garbage out.
So how do we make sure that these AI systems are being trained on data that's fair and representative?
It comes down to responsible development practices.
Okay.
The companies building these platforms need to prioritize using data sets that are diverse and inclusive.
Right.
They need to be aware of potential biases and actively work to mitigate them.
Okay.
The good news is there's growing awareness of these ethical considerations.
That's good.
And a lot of research is being done to develop tools and techniques for building more responsible and equitable AI systems.
That's reassuring to hear. It seems like we're still in the early stages of figuring all of this out.
We are. It's early days.
How to navigate this new world
Yeah.
of AI-powered development, but the potential is undeniable.
The potential is huge.
It's exciting to think about the possibilities that these tools are opening up, both for,
Right.
people who are already developers
Experienced developers.
and those who are just starting out.
Exactly. It's exciting for everyone.
I totally agree. It feels like we're witnessing a democratization of technology,
We are, absolutely.
a shift towards a future where more people can participate in shaping,
Shaping the digital world.
the digital world. Exactly.
It's powerful.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Bolt.new
Okay.
and the rise of AI in web development, what's like the key takeaway that you would want to leave our listener with?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. AI is not here to replace human ingenuity. It's here to augment it.
I like that.
Platforms like Bolt.new, they're incredibly powerful tools,
Right.
but they're still just tools. The real magic happens when human creativity and AI capabilities come together.
Restfully said.
Yeah,
It's not about humans versus machines.
exactly.
It's about humans and machines working together
Working in harmony.
to create something truly amazing.
And that collaboration is what's leading to these incredible advancements in web development and beyond.
It's an exciting time to be,
It is.
witnessing this whole technological revolution unfold.
Absolutely.
Thanks for guiding us through this.
My pleasure.
I think our listeners are now well equipped
Yeah,
to navigate this crazy new world.
the future is bright.
It is. It is. All right. Well, that's it for today.
Sounds good.
We'll see you next time.
See you later. So at its core, Bolt.new uses a combination of some pretty advanced AI technologies.
Okay.
We're talking natural language processing, machine learning, and deep learning algorithms.
Okay, so that sounds pretty complex. Can
Yeah.
you, unpack those a little bit?
Sure, think of it this way. Natural language processing, NLP for short,
Okay.
allows Bolt.new to understand your instructions just like you'd explain them to another person.
Okay,
You say create a photo gallery, and it just gets it.
cool.
Then machine learning comes into play. It's been trained on this massive data set of code, so it's learned all these patterns and best practices.
Wow.
It's constantly learning, it's constantly improving its ability to generate, high quality code.
So it's like Bolt.new is going to coding school, basically constantly learning and getting better at writing code.
Exactly, constantly learning and evolving.
So what about deep learning? Where does that fit in?
Deep learning takes machine learning to another level. It uses these artificial neural networks
Okay.
to analyze data in a more nuanced way. It's kind of like how our brains work.
Interesting.
So this helps Bolt.new understand the intent behind your instructions, so it can generate even more sophisticated code.
So it's not just copying and pasting snippets of code. It's actually understanding what you want to achieve and building it from scratch.
Exactly from the ground up.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But let's shift gears a bit and talk about the bigger picture.
Okay.
Bolt.new is a cool tool.
It is.
What does it represent, in the grand scheme of web development?
We're witnessing a paradigm shift in the industry. Those traditional barriers to entry in web development.
Yeah.
They're crumbling thanks to tools like Bolt.new.
So this means more people
More people from all sorts of background.
can build websites, can build apps.
Exactly, and bring their ideas to life online.
That's a really empowering thought. But let's play devil's advocate for a second. Doesn't this also mean that the market could become oversaturated with websites and apps?
Right.
Like if everyone can build a website, won't quality suffer?
It's a valid concern, but I believe creativity and innovation will always stand out.
Okay.
Just because the tools are more accessible doesn't mean that everyone's going to create amazing digital experiences.
Right.
It still takes, vision and design sense and understanding of user experience
Okay.
to build something truly great.
So it's not just about the tools, it's about the people using them.
Exactly. The people behind the tools are what make the difference.
This makes me think about, web developers. Is
Yeah.
this a threat to their jobs, or is this an opportunity for them to kind of evolve?
I see it as an evolution, definitely not a threat.
Okay.
Web developers, they're going to become more like architects, more like designers.
Interesting.
They can focus on the big picture strategy, the user experience,
Right.
while AI is handling those more repetitive coding tasks.
So instead of writing line after line of code, they're kind of like guiding the AI, making sure it aligns with their vision.
Exactly. Guiding the AI, shaping the output.
It's almost like they're conducting an orchestra of code.
I love that analogy.
So they're still a composer,
Yes, they're still the creative force behind it all.
but they're not playing every instrument.
Exactly. They're leveraging the power of AI to bring their vision to life.
That's a much more optimistic outlook than robots are taking our jobs.
Definitely, it's about collaboration, not replacement.
Okay, so for those who are interested in diving into this world of AI-powered web development,
Yeah.
what advice would you give them? What are some things they should be aware of?
First, don't be afraid to experiment. Play around with these new tools like Bolt.new.
Okay.
Embrace that learning curve and have fun exploring what's possible.
Okay, fun is important.
Absolutely. And secondly, while these tools make it easier to build without writing a lot of code, it's still important to understand those fundamentals of web development. That knowledge will help you troubleshoot customized designs and really push the boundaries of what's possible.
So it's not about throwing away traditional coding knowledge. It's about combining it
Combining it, yeah.
with these new AI-powered tools
Exactly, using the best of both worlds.
to become even more effective developer.
More effective and more efficient, yeah.
All right, before we wrap up this discussion, I want to bring up the ethical considerations surrounding AI.
Okay, sure, an important topic.
We can't just ignore the potential downsides, right?
It's important to talk about that, for sure.
It feels like we're stepping into uncharted territory here with AI
Yeah.
taking on such a significant role in web development. Are there any concerns about, potential biases creeping into the code?
That's a great question. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely something we should be mindful of as AI plays a larger role in development.
Okay.
The output of any AI system is heavily influenced by the data it's trained on.
Right. Right.
So if that data contains biases, those biases could be reflected in the code generated by platforms like Bolt.new.
So it's like the old saying, garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. Garbage in, garbage out.
How do we make sure that these AI systems are being trained on data that's fair and representative?
It really comes down to responsible development practices.
Okay.
Companies building these platforms need to prioritize diverse and inclusive data sets.
Yeah.
They need to be aware of potential biases and actively work to mitigate them.
Okay.
And the good news is there's a growing awareness of these ethical considerations.
Okay, that's good.
And a lot of research is being done to develop tools and techniques for building more responsible and equitable AI systems.
That's reassuring to hear. It seems like we're still in the early stages of figuring out how to navigate all of this.
Yeah, it's still early days.
This new landscape of AI-powered development, but the potential is undeniable.
Oh, the potential is huge.
It's exciting to think about the possibilities these tools open up, both for people who are already developers
Seasoned developers, yeah.
and for those who are just starting out.
Absolutely. It's an exciting time for everyone.
Yeah, I completely agree. It feels like we're witnessing a democratization of technology,
100%, we really are.
a shift towards a future where more people can participate in shaping the digital world.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Bolt.new
Okay.
and this rise of AI in web development,
Hmm.
what's the key takeaway you'd like to leave our listeners with?
The biggest takeaway for me is this. AI is not here to replace human ingenuity.
Okay,
It's here to augment it.
I like that.
Platforms like Bolt.new are incredibly powerful tools, but they're still just tools.
Right.
The real magic happens when human creativity and AI capabilities come together.
Beautifully said. It's not about humans versus machines.
Exactly.
It's about humans and machines working in harmony to create something amazing.
And that collaboration is leading to some incredible advancements in web development and beyond.
It's an exciting time to be alive, to be witnessing this technological revolution unfold.
I agree. It really is.
Thanks for guiding us through this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
I think our listeners are now well equipped to navigate the world of AI-powered web development.
I hope so. The future is bright.
It is. It is. All right. Well, that's it for today. We'll see you next time.
See you later, Scott.